Hello, welcome to the All for the Culture podcast. This is the newest and freshest hip hop podcast on the scene. And today we got a special guest in the building.
Who we got?
We got an original Screwed Up Click member, an OG from Houston, Texas. Texas Towdown is in the building. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate it, man.
It is a pleasure. I'm glad that you have me out here. I appreciate the invite because wherever I smell the good and see the good, it is what it is. It's all good.
That's the homies, man. So let's just start off, man. I just want to start off with your early life. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? What side of town? Were you north, south?
I grew up on the southwest side of Houston. I went to Fondren Middle School and Westbury High School, which Westbury High School is basically like a future prison of America type high school. It's designed like a prison. Everybody that graduates there eventually goes to prison. So I grew up on the southwest side. I went to Westbury High School, and it was probably about my senior year when I actually started getting into rapping. It just so happened to be that, I'd always mess around like at lunchtime, people beating on the table and, me busting flows and stuff. And I just kind of took it as something that I did. I really didn't think that I was actually going to, pursue it as a career. But what ended up happening was one of my buddies knew of this recording studio, and he took me to this recording studio one night. And I was just so amazed and overwhelmed by all the equipment. It was just like, okay, I don't know what any of this stuff does, but I want to do it. I don't know how any of these buttons work, but this is what I want to do. And it just so happened to be one of the studios that recorded one of my favorite all-time groups, UGK. So when I found out that they had made such a classic song there, I think the song was like "Tell Me Something Good." And when I found out that they, had made the music, and what was so ironic is the lady that actually produced that track was an African lady who was like a mom of two children, and the engineer of that song was this guy that was like half Asian, half Indian, so I'm like tripping. I'm like, these guys do rap music, so I'm like, well, if they can do this stuff, I want to do it too. So that's what it was about the time that I got to see the first studio and check out the stuff, and I just became instantly addicted to the process of making music.
Oh, okay. So, how'd you grow up? Like, a child, a teenager? Like, what kind of guy were you? Like, rebellious? Did you get in a lot of trouble? Were you, how was that?
Well, growing up, I'm a product of old sperm. My dad was like 48 when he had me, right? So that's why I have a twitch. No, I'm just kidding. So growing up in my house, even though we lived in a nice looking house, my dad was laid off from Coca-Cola. He was a maintenance man at Coca-Cola, and he was laid off because he was too old. He was like 55. So they laid everybody off that was at the age over 55. So we experienced a rough patch when I was growing up of, food stamps. And if you wanted something, you had to go out and make money to, get those fly jeans or those shoes or whatever it was. So growing up, we never had, disposable income. For a long time, I thought it was normal to heat your house with the oven. I thought every family did that, until I was sitting at, in class one day and I hear this dude snapping on this another dude, and I was like, dude, you're so poor, you heat your house by the oven. And I got upset. I was like, what? What's really going on? So, I grew up in a time where, if you wanted something, you had to make money to go and get that. So, growing up, I sold greeting cards door to door. And
oh, really? Wow.
So now, if you ask my mom and my dad, well, my dad's passed away, but if you ask my mom about the story goes is that I would go door to door selling greeting cards, and I was really good at selling the cards, so the people would pay me. And then what I did is I took my money out of the cut, and then when the cards came in, I just kind of just forgot about it, I was like, I already got the money, I'm good, So it kind of left a burden on my pops to go deliver the cards, but I always had this, hunger for, hustling. So when it, came time to like either a paper route or, selling greeting cards door to door, if you wanted something in our house, either, you had to go get it yourself or you had to find a way to hustle it up. So growing up, I didn't have a car, a fly car to drive to school. I drove like a 1972 lime green station wagon, my freshman year. So imagine pulling up in a slab like that, and everybody, was pointing, and I thought, like, I'm cool, I'm like 15, 16, rolling through high school in a car, I'm thinking I'm, G'd up from the feet up. But in actuality, people are like, man, look at this idiot here in this big old, Brady Bunch, station wagon. But even at that point, I realized, how can I turn this into a positive? So what I did is I basically ran a shuttle. So I was like Uber. I had friends that lived in the neighborhood, and it was a 9-passenger, station wagon. I charged everybody $1 to, go home. So what I'd do is I'd stop at the corner store, grab me some zigzags, some papers, and some cigarettes, and put a little gas in the car, and I was good for the day. And everything I did during, school,
Back when gas was like 50 cents.
Well, it was more like $1, but everything I did early on in my life was based around hustling. When I was in middle school, I saw that the band and the cheerleading corps and all these other groups were selling candy to make money for their group. So I had my mom take me to Sam's Wholesale, and I had to buy me some blow pops. And what I did is I stole blow pops in school.
That's what I did.
So
Yeah,
like if you have 100 blow pops, you charge $0.25 a piece. You make $25. The box is like $7, bro. You're good. I'm going there selling 2 boxes a day. I'm getting paid to go to school.
Yeah.
So that hustler mentality has always been a part of my family. Not having those finer things in life actually helped me get to the point where I was hungry enough to hustle, and I learned how to count money before I learned how to read. I learned how to go work for something instead of just sit on my butt and wait for it to come to me, and that's how I kind of grew up.
Yeah. Like, I know you and your brother, y'all are really, really close, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So like, I mean, how did y'all grow up as kids? Were y'all still as close as y'all are now? Did y'all fight a lot? Like, how are y'all now? Do y'all fight now? And like,
oh yeah, that's our whole relationship. I have 2 older brothers, and my oldest brother is actually estranged from the family because at the time of my arrest and things were going on, he had a nice job working as a hedge fund manager, and he felt that, long story short, that the negative impact that I was putting on my family name, it wouldn't be good for him to stick around. So long story short, my oldest brother and I, we don't talk. He doesn't talk to the family, but the brother I'm closest to is actually the middle child. So growing up, when there would be, playing baseball or football, whatever it may be, me and Bernard were always close.
Okay.
So, fighting is something that we do. There's been many a times where I have an idea and he doesn't have the same idea, and we sit there and we go at it, and people are like, hey, these guys are really, serious. But at the end of the day, my brother and I, we're both each other's best friend and business partners, and we ride or die for each other.
Y'all ever come to blows? Like,
nah. Because listen, somebody taught me this in prison. He was a great speaker, and in prison you have your speakers, shot callers. And he was like, listen, if you can't talk your way out of a situation, then you deserve to have your ass beat. So we always know how to talk. And so it's never been a physical type fighting relationship between him and I. I mean, when there's money to be discussing and stuff like that, he's the guy that I lean on. Creatively, I take care of the creative side. He takes care of more of the business side.
How'd you get introduced to hip hop? What was the first song you heard, and what did you feel like? Cause I remember me the first rap song I heard. Oh man, I'm trying to remember. I know the first rap song that got me into rap was Juvenile, Back That Ass Up. But that was not the first rap song I heard. I think I probably heard a lot of Biggie, but the first one I can remember is Money Ain't a Thing by Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri.
Well, growing up, my 2 older brothers were there for the introduction of rap music, the Run DMCs, the Beastie Boys, the Fat Boys, stuff like that. So growing up, there was all that music going on. Plus, we listened to country music and rock music. So growing up, probably the first song I remember listening to was the song by the Fat Boys or something like that, And our Run DMC or Houdini, those were probably the first initial introductions to rap music. But when I was growing up and coming up through middle school and high school, I listened to UGK. You know, that was my Run DMC. You know.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of UGK. Too.
And then besides, you know, UGK, the way we got our music was through, you know, screw tapes. So everything hot and fresh was coming out on screw tape. So Screw, UGK, those were always, you know, those two those two artists that I always kind of, you know, followed the most.
So like, what drew you to it? As far as like, you know, choosing music, like what drew it to you more than rock or country, or what about it drew you to? Were they talking about what you were doing?
Well, you know, I first started, you know, working on music because I saw all of my homeboys that I, you know, hustle dope to and shit like that, that these guys were getting record deals, you know, Big Pokey, Hawk, DJ Screw. These guys were offered large amounts of money. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, if these guys can do it, this is something that I can do.
Yeah.
Especially growing up on UGK, and you know, UGK is basically talking about that life, you know. And growing up, UGK taught me how to rap and taught me how to sell dope, you know. So between those two, it was, you know, all right. Well, I think I can do exactly what these guys are doing, getting offering deals. And the whole reason I got into music was for bitches and money. I mean, plain and simple. That's the whole reason I wanted to become a rapper, was so that I could be famous and that I could, you know, get some money and some bitches and then, you know, kind of go from there. And that was the whole driving force behind my whole music decision. So that was what kind of propelled me to want to get into music. Now, most people will come to, oh, I love the art, and the art, it was so beautiful. Listen, I was trying to get some pussy and some money. That's it.
Hate her, but I fuck her like a lover. I was fighting, but we kiss under the cover. And baby, I don't ever play around with you. Soon as we get together, you know what's going down. She say she love when I'm up in it. Them other niggas ain't with it. She like, what's your favorite position? I'm like, baby, every position. And I love when you wash the dishes. Not because you washing the dishes. It's because them little shorts you be wearing when you walk around in the kitchen, yeah.